Good morning, everyone. If you're out there, I'm Ann Hine. I do have my comments on. If you're new, just joining us, we hang out here for 5 minutes to the top of the hour, and then I put the camera on and start the program. This way, everybody can find their way. Hi, Lynn. Welcome. So we have a rainy day here, and I think it's going to continue to rain. Some days I just don't even look at the weather. I just deal with it, you know? That's how it is. Hi, Britt. Welcome. Yeah, so today will be AD Created 11. So we're up to 11. That's a wonderful thing. I did post the class notes. So if you wanted to go print those, if you haven't, you can do that and take care of that. So you have them to write some more notes on if you want. That's entirely up to you. Let's see. Hi from Sweden. We have Roxanne. Welcome. Yeah, we have a wide group of people from everywhere on this page. It's very, very nice. Sometimes the language barrier is a little hard to deal with. We are an American page, so and I don't speak a second language. Sometimes I have trouble just with English. So. Oh, hi, Marty. Welcome. So if you're new, hi, Janice. If you're new, I think these are all people who've been here before, but sometimes there's people that don't say hello and they're still here. Welcome. I'm Ann Hine with Janome, and we'll be starting AD Created. If you watch the little timer at the top, once it hits 0, it's counting down. I turn the camera on and get started. So you have a few minutes. You can go get a coffee, a tea, glass of water, your morning snack, whatever you need, or maybe it's your evening snack, depending on where you're coming from. We're all over. Good morning, Susan. Welcome. So I'm trying to warm my fingers up. I've had a terrible time lately with my hands being very cold, which then they don't like to work on the trackpad or on the laptop. I mean, on my iPad screen. Hi, Dee. Is it Ronald? Ronald? Is that how you pronounce it? I probably pronounced that wrong. Ruth, welcome. Janice. Oh, there we go. Oh yeah, you guys had some snow down there in Texas. I don't know if it was in Dallas or where you had that, but I did see you guys had some snow. Very unusual for that area. Here in the Northeast, we're used to that. And sometimes we get, a weird storm late in the season. We could get something in April, late March, early April, depending on, Mother Nature. So we're getting close. We're going to be under a minute now. And I will be turning the camera on at the top of the hour. So if you're just chiming in, I'm Ann Hine. And we are doing AD Created today. This is the more artistic part of my series of videos. On Tuesdays, I do AD Skill Builder, and we work more on the basics, on how to use the tools, where they are, that kind of thing. And then on Thursdays at AD Created, we create something with the tools. And they don't necessarily relate to each other. They run independently. So because the skill builder is going to just work a little slower than what you would be doing in Create It. So, and I'm always looking for ideas, so you can always PM me with an idea, and I'm happy to put that in my list. I do have quite a few things that I want. All right, so let me put on the webcam. There we go. Good morning, everyone. Welcome, welcome. So, as I said, I'm Ann Hine. I am one of the educators with Janome America, and I'm slowly getting some assignments for the fall outside of outside the house that I'll have to travel to. So that's really nice. So I have a couple things. I'm going to be at the Houston Quilt Show in whenever that is, November, October, end of October. And I don't know where I'll be there. Usually, sometimes I work the booth, sometimes the classroom. So if you go to that, you can always try to pop by and say hi. I'm not doing any artistic there. This is all sewing machine related. And then I'll be at the Rusty Barn Show in Portland in December. So, and that's again a booth thing. There's no classrooms there, so I'll be in the booth with my matching twin, Amy. So we like to be called Polka. That's me, and she's Dot. So maybe you'll see us in the booth. You won't be able to recognize who is who. So let me see what's happening here of people coming on. Let's see. We have Annika, I see, and Sharon, Carol, Janice, Kay, Kathy, welcome, and Kay. There we go. I said that twice. But so anyways, not to make this go too long, but today we are going to be talking about working with vinyl and cutting, how you set up to cut it. And then next week on Thursday, we will be hands-on at the cutter like we did last week. And I think this works out nice. My video then isn't really long, and then, I don't know if you guys are sleeping out there, so it's really hard. I just, continue to talk to myself here, which is kind of fun. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do some designing. I'm going to show you some products and talk about them first so you can see when we're working on the workspace, you can see how that would relate to what we were doing. So you have an idea of how things are. So I just want to show you a few things there. And then be sure to ask questions. I will check. I keep my iPad up over here to the side. It's actually that way. And I keep my iPad up so I can check to see if there's comments and questions. And I try to answer them right there if I can. If I don't answer them, you can ask them again, and because I may miss them. I can only see a few things at once, and then I have to scroll back. Or after we're over with in the afternoon, I go back and I answer questions then. So I can always do that. All right, so without further ado, let me jump in, and I'm going to put my camera on. I have it pointing down on my workspace so that you can see the products, and I'm going to talk about those first, and then we'll go into the software and design from there. All right, so here we go. I will put on my camera. There we are, and I'm just going to double check here what's happening out here and make sure there's no messages waiting for me. There, okay. And hopefully I won't bump the camera. I am like the klutzy educator, so I'm always bumping into it. So I put a couple of tools here that are very handy when you're working with vinyl. And one of them is the, last week I showed you the tools, and I'll do it again on Thursday. We have 2 toolkits. One's an art craft starter kit, and it gives you lots of tools and products to try. And this is the squeegee, and this is great for when you are putting things down on your mat and you're smoothing them. You can run this over it, or even when you're applying it and you need to push down on the sticky back and then peel up the the parts around it so you can work from there. And this, of course, is your little hook tool. It's very pointy at that sharp end there. And it's great for, here's a piece of, this is iron-on vinyl, or HTV. And I have a heart. It has a carrier. So typically you would have it this way. This is the glue side. You would put this down on your mat, and then you would cut on this side, and you would peel off the parts you want from the carrier, the parts you don't want from the carrier, and keep the other parts on the carrier. So I can see right here, and this is where this little part comes in handy. I made several cuts on this. Let me pull this one out. Maybe pull one of these out. There we go. So you can see. So if you're cutting, and sometimes you end up with more designs. So see how I'm peeling that off? So I can take this off. This one here, I'm going to pull it all the way off so you can see. This would actually be the part I would weed away. I might not use. Now in this case, because of the way the shape is, it works out great. But when you're doing a letter or some other things, this is the part, what's called weeding, that you would weed away. So there it is. So what I would be doing is applying this to whatever I wanted. So I would have a heart with a heart around it. Oops, let me put it down in here. There we go. And then I get a bonus design, and I can lay this, I can lay this down and iron this on too. So you can see how that's sparkly. So your heat set vinyl always has this little like plastic carrier. And what you want to do when you're cutting it, you want to do a kiss cut. So you're just cutting your material, you're not cutting the carrier. So you can lift it off of there. You can do the same thing with your, and the other thing you want to do is make a square around whatever you cut. So I have one here. Let me see if I can, it's kind of big. All right, so this is one I did. This is sticky back vinyl. And I did this a while ago. Let me get my tool. There we go. So, and I don't know if we're glaring. I'm trying to figure out my lighting here. All right, there we go. This one here I did, and then I weeded out all these little areas here. And I don't want to pick this up and then place it down because it's not connected right here. So I would have to like really work hard at getting this in place. So what I can use is my transfer tape, and I would cut a piece that's as big as this. And this is transfer tape here. There's different types. It's a sticky back. We use it with the crystals. So I would peel this off, and typically I would have it the whole size here, but I just want to show you on one part of this. You would lay this down on here like that and smooth it out. And this is where you can use your squeegee too. This would be really great for the squeegee because I want to make sure I'm picking up all the parts. I have some tiny loose parts in here. For me to re-put those in again, that would be very hard. If I was doing lettering, same thing with lettering. If I had a word across here, you don't want to lift up each letter and try to place it. Some designs you can. I mean, some designs will be easy and you can do that, but some of them not. So if I was going to place this on something, I can peel it up. We're going to have, let's see if I can get it to peel up here. There we go. See how it's lifting now? Not all of it's going to lift because I don't have a big enough piece, but you can see how it's starting to come off on my transfer tape. Let me try from this side, might be better. Hang on. There we go. See how that's coming up on the transfer tape right here? So I could take that, once I get it all, I would have a whole big piece, and then I could take this to whatever I'm going to put it on, my shirt or whatever, and I could adhere it. This is the sticky back, so this is sticky here. So I wouldn't use an iron. I could just stick it down, and then I would be all set with that. So that's how you work with your vinyls. Sometimes your vinyl, like these little hearts here, you can just pick them up and place them depending on what you're doing. But if it's complicated, you would be doing this. And if you're doing layered, we're going to talk about layering. And when you're doing layering, you'll be using your transfer tape too. And you can buy that, your Janome dealers have it. And I think it comes in, well, I have both sheets and a roll. So I'm going to just pull this off of here. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I'm going to have to, well, we're going to play with this a little later. So that's that. They're also, so this is, let me see if I can find another one. I had some other samples here to show you. This one here is a little different. Sometimes we get sent stuff from Janome and it doesn't really have instructions. So this is a heat set product. It has a heavy carrier on this side. The very, very shiny side is the carrier. And then back here, it has a little bit of a cover on it that's protecting your, let's see if I can peel it off. It's protecting the heat set part of it. There it is right there. And so I would cut my piece, peel it out just like I did the shiny one, and put it down, iron it, press it, and then I could peel off whatever, you know, I would peel off the transfer tape. So this is what it looks like without transfer tape on it. Let me peel back a piece of this if I can. Now the vinyls come all different ways. There's, there's some flocked ones, there's some bumpy ones, there's smooth ones. And you have to remember a few things when you're layering. Let's see if I can get my little tool in there now. Maybe, there we go. Okay, so this would be the side that's going to show on whatever you put it on. This part here, and it's sort of a lightly speckled gray. Some things just don't show on the camera very well. So that's the carrier right here. And then it has this little protector part on that side of it. Okay, and then I did this one. I've showed you this one before. This one I cut and then I weeded away all this inside part. And when I go to apply this, I'll just lay it this way and I'll use an iron or a press. I really love the press because when you put it down, you get coverage on the whole piece. With your iron, you're going to be here, here, and here. And then after you get done, you carefully peel up one corner and see if it's sticking. If it's not, put your transfer tape down and try it again. You don't have to use a press cloth with this, but I do. And I don't know, I just like it. For me, it's just a safety feature. So I will put a press cloth on that when I'm doing it. And as I said before, I think last week I said when I'm doing vinyl or even crystals, especially with crystals, if I have a very thick fabric like a heavy denim jacket, I will heat the jacket with the iron first and then put it down what I'm putting there. It just helps the glue to activate better and get started on there, especially the crystals, because crystals you're coming through so much material before then. So I think that's pretty good on what I have for products. I don't have a lot of different, I have lots of different red things, but I don't imagine that. But I don't have a lot of different products. They're all fairly close to the same. Let's see, I have this black one. This one here too, this is black. So this is the carrier. And then this is the glue side. So with anytime you have a carrier, carrier goes down on your mat first, and then you're going to cut here, weed it, and then lift it off and take it to wherever you're going to go. Just like we did here with this heart. This is the carrier. You can see that the heart is left on. Okay. Now some images will not need to be mirror imaged. Some will. And I'm sure that will confuse a lot of people. It confuses me at times. When you're using sticky back vinyl, you don't have to because you're picking it up. Let's see, I'll get this back under here. You're picking it up from the correct side. This is the right side of it. But when you're working with the HTV or the heat vinyl, you're working from the back side. So you would have to, especially lettering, you would have to reverse that depending on what letter you're using too. So you just have to remember mirror imaging, and we have an easy way to mirror image on there. All right, well, let me leave that this way. If I can slide it back. There we go. So you can see a little bit of that. All right, well, I'm going to put the software on, and I'm going to check to see if we have any comments or questions. So let me go to the software. There we go. And I'm going to take a look at the comments. Let's see, we have, whoops, let's go back a little bit and see. All right, I think we're good there. Now, someone mentioned Jane, she likes to use Teflon sheets over HTV, and that's a great way to go if you have a Teflon sheet. I know with our Elna presses, you can get a Teflon sheet that fits the whole size of that press. So it covers the whole piece. It's under the artistic brand of our products. So that's something to check into too. I really like that one because it covers everything. I never have to worry about where it is. And oh, Janice, yes, our clocks have changed. We have we have daylight saving time here. So we are we sprung ahead, right? So in the fall we'll move back. And oh, Regina, it's okay if you're late. I give a quiz later, so hopefully you'll be all right. Okay, so here we are in the software, and let me look at my list to make sure we are working. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to work with the sticky back vinyl. And I'm going to open a design, and I'm trying to think what one I want to open. And then we'll go from there. So let's see. I like opening my little lizard guy, but sometimes he takes a little while to get in there. But let's bring him in as SVG since we've worked with him. So I brought him in, and you can see I have my hoop back here. And if you prefer to work with the mat behind you, you can easily change that by coming to your hoop machine icon, clicking on the hoop over here on the right hand side, not the plus because that just adds another hoop. And you can use the drop down here. So let me get this out of the way. You can use the drop down here to pick your cutter for a cutter mat. And even if you don't have it's just an edge cutter and you want to work on the visual of a mat, you can pick one of these. You don't have to, necessarily have the edge cutter because I'll show you when we go to export. And then you can, if you have the edge 12 or the 15, you can click over here and it'll drop down. I have an extra window in the way there. So you can pick the 15 or the 12. I have the 12. So now I have a mat behind me, which is very handy because it gives you the mat size down here so that you can know that way you don't make something too big, for this mat. There are ways to make things bigger than the mat. We do have a longer mat. You can do that. And there's lots of ways to figure all of that out. Okay, so here's my guy. And if I wanted to cut him out of vinyl, I have a couple of choices on how I want to do it. But before I even start, if I selected part of him, I notice over here when I'm under outline, I do not have the cut feature over there. So I can't really make him into a cut. And also, if I went up to my file and export, it's not showing the cutter. It's showing I can make it an SVG if I want or an image, but it's not showing the cutter. So I don't have my cut technique turned on. So right up here at the top of the page here is your techniques, and you can turn on your technique. The embroidery is always the default. It's always on. It always stays there. And I'm going to turn on the cut. We played with the stencil before, the crystals before, and we looked at stencil a little bit last time. So I won't turn those on. Some people like to, when they open their software, like to open all of these. We don't have a default to leave them all open, but it just keeps your properties, I think, less busy. So I'm going to select OK, and then let me click off of here and click back on. I'm in outline. Oh, I'm in fill, sorry. In outline, and there's cut right there. So I can easily turn this into a cut. If I wanted to not have it look like stitches, I could select artwork. Let me get this again. Oh, let me get the fill. There he goes. So now he's more like paper. So if you like to work with that rather than stitches, you can select your whole piece and then go to fill. I don't want these two. Let's get rid of that. Let's go here. There we go. And now he's all looking like just the shapes. So there's no threads in there. The view is no threads. So this is handy. Sometimes I like this too, that I don't have to see that the threads in there. Now this design can be fairly complicated because it has a lot of things going on. And when you're cutting vinyl, if I was going to do this on sticky back vinyl, because we're going to work from, and iron-on is similar. Well, iron-on goes in the other direction, but your sticky back, when you go to use a sticky back and you're doing something layered like this, you want to think about what is on top of what. And so here, his white eye would be on top of the black, which is on top of this green, which is on top of this green, on top of his head. So does that make sense? And these are on top of that. Unless you wanted to cut a shape that was just with these openings in it and not layer. Sometimes I would do it that way. It depends on the design. I think it's better if I had one whole piece of his body and then I put these on top rather than having holes in there. And it will fill in for you. So you let me undo that and get it back. You can select his body and then it'll all be one piece. You could make it all one color if you want there too. So since this is a little bit complicated, let me show you when you go to the cut window. I'm going to actually take away this little the outer one here, not the black, just so we have one less layer to look at. And I think that's it, so we can delete it. There we go. Oh, it deleted too. Okay, well that's okay. We'll do his eye like that. And just to give us one less layer. So when I'm ready to cut this, I have to, if I want to cut it, I have to select the whole thing. I have to apply a cut to the outline. There we go. And sometimes when I do that, if you look down here, now I have double colors because I have all the outline colors selected and I have all the fill colors selected. Let me show you what that looks like in the cutter window. So I'm going to go up to File, Export, and now I have cutters. Now I'm not connected to my cutter, but that's okay. And here's all the cutters that you can direct connect to. So yesterday when I looked, this is interesting. Oh, maybe it's because I'm on my Mac. You can direct connect to these when you're on a Mac. You can direct connect to the Silhouette Cameo when you're on a PC. That's the difference. So if you're on a Mac, you don't have the direct connect to a Silhouette Cameo. And if you have another cutter, your right down here, you can pick your file format for that cutter. Also in our files, someone did a nice document, I think it was Jeannie, on using the Cricut Maker and how you adjust coming from Artistic Digitizer to the Maker. There's some sizing issue going on there, so there's a document on how to do that. So I have my edge selected and I'm just going to do connect, and it's going to tell me it won't connect, but that's okay. I just want to see the cutter window. Let me get this here. Okay, so this one nicely just gave me 7 things to cut. I have another design I did earlier, and it gave me 14 cuts because of those solids in there. It was just very bizarre. So if you open your cut window and it looks like you have more cuts than you think you should have, you want to go back and just delete your fills down here. Okay, so right now, because these are all selected, it would cut this whole thing all at once, which we don't want. So what you can do is you can deselect all of these like this. And you can't see that little white dot, but it's in here somewhere. I should change it to another color. So I would select the part I want to cut. So maybe I want to cut this part. That's the outer, that's the black that's in the center's eye. And then here's that light green let me move this over so maybe we can see both as we go along. Get this out of the way. So this circle is cutting this light piece right here. And then the next time I would cut this, and this is cutting anything with this color, and it's that blue, so it's going to cut all of that. Let's get rid of that piece. It's going to cut all of that. This is going to cut his head. This is going to cut that lower body. And this cuts the upper body. So I didn't have to do anything with the overlaps. I mean, it filled in the body for me. I don't have to do auto border or anything like that. But as I'm clicking through here, what I would do is I would have all these colors. I could have them all on my mat at once, little pieces of them, as long as I know what size. And I would just move my cutter head to the next one. It would cut this one and so forth. But now I would have on my cutting mat all these pieces, these loose, especially when we get to this one here. Let me do this one. I would have all these loose pieces. So in order to line them up again, I could do it by eyeball, which, you know, is very good. I would start with my eye, this little white part. So let me just select that. I would lift the eye off, and then I would go to my black and I would weed out the black. So I just had the black piece there. This is actually a solid, so I would pick up the black, and then I would weed out my next one and pick that one up, and then I would pick up that part because that's what they put next. Then I could pick up his head, and let's see, and the lower part, let's see, get rid of this, the lower part of his body, And then last, I would pick up this. Now we're layering from the top down. We're working with sticky back vinyl. This is where if you have spatial issues like sometimes I do, and when you see this next week, it'll make more sense because I'm going to layer it from the very top. This is the top part. It's like doing an applique. If you think about doing an applique, you always start when it's, if you want to see the finished part, that's the closest thing to you is the part you want to start with. So we would start with the white and work our way down. And I will show you, I'll cut this next week. I'll show you how this works. Now, one tip, I'm going to close this window and make sure we don't have any questions. Very good. All right. So one thing you might want to do, and I find this handy, I've done it a couple of times, is I put a registration mark near my piece. That way, and I make it, I make sure it's in each piece that I'm working with, so that as I pick them up off the mat, I can align my registration mark first, and then just push my transfer tape down, and everything lines up just right. So you can put a little shape at the top here. You can put it over in here if you want, anywhere you want on your piece. So I would just go to my shapes and I pick a star. I like a 5-pointed star. There we go. And I'm just going to click and drag right up here, my little star. And you want to make sure that you keep your star that color, but you want to make sure that you give it a cut so that it becomes one of your cut files. And the other thing you're going to need is a frame around here. Now with the artistic software, we don't have to create a frame. We can do it at the cutter. But if you have a different cutter, you would want to take your shape tool, your rectangle, and drag a shape around here. And I will do that to show you this. There we go. And I'm going to delete the inside, so we just leave that outer part. And I'm going to make that outline a cut. So what's going to happen is it's going to cut this big box. It's going to cut all these little it's going to cut a box with each piece, and then I can lift it out. I can weed it out of that box. What you might have to do with, if you have a different software, is you might need to pull your pieces apart and put them in different spots on the page so that it doesn't, you have to put in the box whatever you're going to cut. The edge cutter makes it very easy. I'll show you, I don't even have to have that box. I'm going to delete it. So if I go to my cutter now, and I'll show you where you can get a box there. So we're going to connect. It's okay. And I'm going to, so here on your screen, and I didn't pick what I'm supposed to pick for vinyl, but I would pick that here. Right here is the frame. So if you look on the window here, this is showing. That's the frame around it. And now there's no frame. And I'm going to show you, so if you have a competitor one, this is a better visual for you. And you'll see in here, there's my star. So what I would do is, the star is down, I think this is the star. Let me just clear everything out. Right, there's the star. So whatever I cut, I want to make sure the star, hang on, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make this white part a different color. Let me make that so we can see it, because we cannot see it on the screen. There we go. And I think it's a cut. Let me make sure in properties, and we'll go back. Yep. And cutter presets, I can pick vinyl, and it's going to tell me my blade, the depth, all that information right here. All right, so now let's go to the cutter. We'll be able to see that eye a little bit better. All right, let's connect. And let's delete these down. Do we see the eye better? Oh, you know what? I didn't. It's not. Hang on. Educator, come on, let's do your job. And educate. I need to give it an outline. It doesn't have an outline, and it didn't have a cut. There we go. Now it has a cut. All right, back to this. Sorry about that. Here we go. And connect. And I checked my cutter presets already, so I don't have to go back to that. All right, so now we can see the eye in there. So let's unselect all of these. And the first thing it's going to cut is this eyeball, and it has the star in there. So it's going to cut all of this, the frame and this part and that part. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to take my transfer tape. I'm going to weed out this big section right here. All right, out of there. And then I'm going to use my transfer tape, a big piece, because I want to pick up the whole lizard. So I would lay the transfer tape over my mat to get this piece and that piece, and then lift them off. Then I would go and cut the next section. I want to make sure I leave the star on there. I'm going to weed this out. I'm going to pick up these two. Now, when I pick it up, that little dot's going to be in the center, and then this is going to be around it. And then I could go to the next one, and I would put this one on, and then it would pick up this. Each time I go to pick it up, I just align the star and then push the transfer tape down. So next week, I think when we do this, you'll understand it a little better. I don't know if how that's working. Let's see. Are you cutting? All right, so let me answer a couple questions. So the toolkit, I don't think it's on the Janome webpage. Maybe I should take a picture of it and post it. Maybe I'll try to do that later this afternoon. Though maybe Regina's here and they will post it for us. But it has, I'll try to take a picture. It has some supplies in there for you: crystals, vinyls, heat set vinyls, tools, paper, transfer tape, the crystal template material, I think that in a nice art case. So that's what that is. And then it's an American product, so you're going to find it only in, I believe, the USA and Canada. I'm not totally sure on Canada, but I know for a fact in USA. Now, as far as cutting the vinyl, Paul is asking, am I cutting the vinyl all at one time, or do I use different mats for different colors? I would use the same mat, and I could do it a couple different ways. If my pieces are small enough, I could put several different pieces of vinyl on my mat, different colors. Maybe I was cutting them to size, and then I would just move my cutter head to the next piece and so forth. Or I would put my sheet of, if I'm using sheets, I would put my whole sheet down, and let me show you. Let me go back to the camera and I'll show you this. Let's see here. Oops, why is it not going there? Let's see. All right, it doesn't like to go there. Oh, all right, so I'll do it this way. Hang on, let me get this picked up. Here we go. So let's pretend, I'm going to back up so you can see. Let's pretend this is my mat. So the white part, the white part here is my mat. So I could put my sheet on there like this, and it would cut here, and then I could just take this all off my mat, put the next piece down. But if I had room, I could put another piece over here and cut on my mat. All right, hopefully that makes sense. I think when you see it next week, it's going to make more sense when you actually see it happening. So looking at it flat in the on the screen sometimes is hard. I'm very visual with that. So for me, when I can't see it, sometimes I'm confused about the layering of it. And it's all about layering. You have to think about what comes first, what you want to see first, and what's behind what, and what's behind the next piece as you go forth. Now, with that lizard, I could, on the head, I could actually have it cut out the center where the eye is, and then have to put the eye in there. But I'd rather layer. When you're layering with sticky back, you don't want to go more than 4 layers. So that's something to think about too. So you may have to decide at some point, oh, there's too many layers. I'm going to have to cut through, so I'm not doing so many layers. With the heat set vinyl, you can only layer if it's you can't layer as much, and I would do a little test. But this is the shiny one. It has texture. So if I laid something on top of this to heat it, it might not adhere well because of that texture. So any of the textured ones, they should go on the top of they should be the last thing when you're working with the heat set vinyl. Heat set vinyl, you're working in the other direction, and we'll go there in just a moment. Where I want to finish up here. So let me double check here. Okay, so in Canada, what they have, Candy's telling me, we have kits. We have 2 different kinds of. We had some kits that were individual. So there was one for vinyl, one for crystals, one for fabric, and so forth. I think there's 4 of them. I think the fabric one is a little project. You've probably seen my quilt that I did. It's in the fabric one. So that's what they have in Canada. In the USA, we came out with 2 new kits. One is the box with just the tools, and then one is the art box, and it has all a sample of everything in it for you to try. So, and we might have, in the USA, we might have some of those other boxes. Some of our dealers may still have those. I don't know. But the new kit is what we're using. And I may have a flyer that I can screen clip the picture of what's in it. I was just thinking about that. And let's see. And Candy's telling what dealer she's going to. That's very nice. Yeah, and I do suggest that you check in with your dealers and see what they offer. Some of our dealers carry a wide selection of vinyls of all kinds. They have crystals and tools and things like that. Some of our dealers don't. As far as the kits, they can always order the kits for you, so you can get the kit. And I suggest the kit because you get all those tools at once instead of getting 1 or 2. You never know when you're working, like, oh, I wish I had that, that pick tool. I wish I had this, and you don't have it. So, or the crystal one with the pick and release, the quick pickup one. All right, so let me go back to software, and we will look at a little bit. Yeah, I don't know if that other kit, Candy, is going to be available in Canada. I just don't know on that part of it. So let me see here. We're going to go back to the software, and I'll go here. There we go, and put us back in the software. So next week when we go to cut this, you'll see how this works out. Of using a little alignment tool on there, so you can use that. Now, if you are using a cutter that is not the edge, if you don't put a frame around it, see how that frame is there, and I'm going to take the frame off for a minute. If you don't put the frame around it, when you go to weed, all of this would have to come off. All that extra piece would have to come off. That's why you definitely need a frame. And you can create it in the software, make a rectangle, and you'd have to make it, you'd have to do some copy and pasting to get one around each of the pieces. So when you're in your workspace, let me close this. So when you're in your workspace, you might do something like, well, let's see, if I want to select the eye, let me scroll in here. If I want the eye, let's get the inner eye. So the first thing I'm going to cut is this eye and this. So I would select them, keeping them together, not changing their size or anything. I would put them over here, create a box around them, and I would cut that. I would keep one of these intact so I can see what I'm doing, but that would be the first thing I'd cut. And I move the star out of it. You have to keep your star there. So you have to do some, oh, I know what you do. I'm sorry. Let me go back. What I would do is I would once I select it, I would do copy, paste, and then move this aside like that. And that, with a box around, I would make a box around that, and that's what would cut. And then I could come back and select this part, the black part, and the star, do another copy, paste, put a box around it. Let's put it up here. Let's put a box around that. Delete that part. Now I have, let me click off of that. Now I have a frame around there. I would have to select that to make it a cut. So that's what you're going to do with all your parts if you don't have the edge cutter where it will send everything at once. Okay, and you could just, it doesn't matter where these are on the mat, because when you're with the edge cutter, you're aligning the cutter head each time you go to cut. So it doesn't matter. This is just a visual for designing. So hopefully you guys understand that part of it. All right, so let's talk about, now if you were going to do, let me get a new page. And when I go to a new page, I do need to turn my technique on. And did you notice, because I'm in embroidery here, this is going to be lit up green. But if I picked the mat down here, it's going to turn it black. So, oh, it didn't turn it black. Well, usually it does. Okay. Well, maybe because there's nothing on there yet. Okay. So, if you're going to do lettering, I suggest you look for fonts that have, like this, that are kind of full type fonts. And let's see if we type down here. Oh, that's not what I see, it didn't pick the right one. All right, come on, fingers. Let's go this way. All right, let's pick this guy right there. And let me make this a color you can see. I need to go in and change my default colors over here on my Mac. So these are nice full letters. So these would cut really nicely. And if they're not connected, so if I select these are all connected, the letters, there's no extra parts hanging off, I don't think. And let me go to properties, maybe, and outline and cut. Now when I send this to the cutter, let's just pick vinyl. It doesn't matter at this point, but because I'm only playing. When I send this to the cutter, and I move this out of the way, I have my frame selected. It's gonna leave this part here in the vinyl, and I will weed away all this outer part and those little parts that are inside. Then I'll take my transfer tape and lift this off of there. So with vinyl, with sticky back, because you're lifting it from the right side of it, you don't have to mirror image it. You can just keep it right there as it is. So if you had thinner fonts, let me close this window. Let me find a font that's thinner. If you had something thin, like, let's do this one. This has got a little bit of, there we go. Okay, so this one isn't too bad. Let me select it and give it a color. This one is not too bad, but some of the ones, they get very thin when they curl. So you just have to be careful lifting those off and putting them on. And if there's any letters that, like this might be a problem. Let's make this one a cut and see what happens, because it's reading the outline of this. And when it does that, there we go, make it a cut. Let's go up here to the cutter. Okay, so let's see what happens. Oh, it did a good job. See, I wasn't sure right here, and it's hard to see. I wasn't sure right here if it would cut off that little part there with the A. And this one here, it's keeping it all one piece is what you want it to do. So you have to, I would double check in your cutter window what it looks like so that, and I could not, if I don't want to cut that green part, I can just do that. So now you can see it's actually going to cut all the way around. That's really nice on that part. And it's going to leave a little tiny hole right there. Now, when you look at it here, if you decide this hole is going to be too small, before you cut, this is where you would edit that, right? This is where you would close this window. Why are we not closing? Hang on. There we go. What you could do is you could come in here, and if you're working with lettering, you have to convert to curves, and then you could go to your edit nodes. And you could either make the outer part bigger, like this, make this a little bit bigger. Remember, you're in charge. And then you could make the inside a little bit bigger. There you go. And maybe not like that, but that's what I would do. It is a cut file. So now I'm going to go back. I'll show you in the cutter window. And even if you don't have a Janome cutter, see how it's much bigger now? And let me take the green one away. There we go. So now we have a bigger space there. So you have, you have the last word in this. If you have any part of your design that looks a little wonky here, go back and edit the nodes and fix it. So that, why do I get an error message? I'm not connected to my cutter. That's why I get the error message. I can still go to I just want to go to the cutter window. I don't have my cutter connected at the moment. Okay, that's why I get that error. If I was connected, I would hear my cutter make that little noise with the blade housing, and I would know I would be connected. And then to move my blade housing, I would use these little arrows right here on the screen. All right, so let's talk a little bit about, I'm going to delete this. Well, I'm going to leave that open, I guess. Let me just close it. Get rid of that one. And I'll leave that up for a minute. Let's talk about working with, let's see, iron on vinyl. Okay. And I did give you this. I gave you this, a picture of this on paper. That was the second page. And that's showing you what it would look like if I cut each of those sections. If I used, depending on what medium I was using, I would pick up my pieces in a certain order. So you can see a little closer. That's one reason why I did that, so you can see a little closer. And of course, on this bicycle, when you look at the picture, there's some parts where, I might take things away. There was actually a little piece of the wheel, right, or the spoke that was like right here, and I deleted it because even this one up here, you could delete it. I mean, I don't think anybody would notice that. There's a little silver spot. Let me scroll in. This little part here, you can delete that if you don't want it there, and then you could make this connect if you wanted to connect your outlines. So look at your pieces before you begin and decide how you want it. Right here, if you're looking at look at the graphic of the wheel, you can see where this is going to go. It's leaving an opening, so it's not layering. So sometimes that's a good thing to not layer. If I'm doing heat vinyl, then it's better sometimes to just have the vinyl stick exactly down to your fabric. Now, heat vinyl is a little different when you're working with it because you're picking up the bottom layer first and working your way up to the top layer if you have something that is layered. Okay, and this one is quite complicated with the lettering. I may try to cut this. I'm going to have to look at my pictures. And this is a tip. The paper I gave you with I just did screenshots of each of those windows, and I put it down and I printed it out. That would be a great way to have a template of your own to follow. So you know what you can kind of think about, oh, I want to cut this part first, and then the next part's going to go on top of it, and then so forth as you layer. So I think for me, on this one, I would probably want the silver to be my first thing that I cut. So that's the first box on the left. And everything else is going to look like it's on top of it. So I would cut the silver, and that would be the first one I would adhere to my shirt. Okay. And then I would go to the next one, which might be the bicycle. I would cut the bicycle, I would take it to my shirt, and when I adhere it, do you see the little star? I don't heat set that star. I get it set where I want it, and then I can, I would peel the star off, and then I would just make sure I was adhering the bicycle part of it. And so if you print it like this, it's helpful. You can print out a template from the software too, but it gives you the whole piece. It doesn't give you the layers. So I clicked on each of these layers, and then it gave me the view that I wanted. Does that make sense? So if you're working with lettering and you're using heat set, that's where you would want to, let's go to a new page. That's where you would want to mirror image. You would not want to iron, because you're working from the back side. Let me put the camera on so I can show you again that vinyl. Let's see, where are we? So with the, let me get my little piece. Where did he go? So when you're working with heat set vinyl, this is heat set vinyl. When you're working with the heat set vinyl, you're not working from this side of the vinyl. You're not working from the pretty side. You're actually cutting from the back side. So that's why you would need to mirror image. Does that make sense? Sort of like if you're making templates for applique, you have to mirror image stuff. Some designs like this, they don't need to be mirror image. But if I was doing something like lettering, and I don't have a sample of lettering, I would have to mirror image the lettering. And that's easy to do in the software. So I'm going to go back to the software and show you mirror imaging. And I want to change out of, I'll put the matte on so we have a visual for you guys. There we go. Now, if I was going to spend a lot of time cutting today, I could change my default on the first page, and then I wouldn't have to keep changing this. So, that might be something you want to do. And then I'm going to make sure I turn my technique on. So there's my technique. And let's go to some lettering and text. So we'll find a big font like this, and we'll type my favorite word. Let's make it a color. Oh, let's select it first and make it a color. There we go. And we'll put it. Now, even with the matte, you still have your feature of center to matte. Isn't that nice? Now it's showing the fabric back there because I had that fabric option chosen, so that doesn't matter to me. So this is what would cut. So I'm going to make it a cut over here. So it's giving it the cut. If this is distracting, the lettering, you can always delete the inside so you can see what's cutting. All right, so this is what would be cutting. Now, I always have to play around when I mirror image because I have those spatial issues. So when I select this, up here you have your mirror. So you would cut this way. So when I peeled that off, it would look like that. Does that make sense? What I would do is make yourself a little something that visually you can see it, and cut it and then see what it looks like. I do a lot of that little bit of that testing myself, because for some reason I can't see the negative and positive sometimes, so I have to really look at that part of it. And I'm not sure why I have that issue, but I do. So you can go around and you can play with your so this is mirroring, flipping top to bottom, and this is your left to right. Let's put this one back. So there you would mirror image that. Some designs like that bicycle, you don't, depends on which way you want that bicycle to go on your shirt. So if we went back to the bike, if you wanted it, if I did it like this and I pulled it off and I cut it like this, when I go to put it on my shirt, it's actually going to be mirror imaged like this. It's going to end up that direction. Okay? Because of the way you're picking up the pieces. I hope that makes sense. And I think next week when we see it, it'll make a lot more sense on there. I do want you to remember that you are you are in charge of what happens in your design. You don't have to, and I might put this up here out of the way. This way I was trying to save some of my vinyl, but I think when I did a heat set, I would actually put it up here somewhere, so it's not, even though I would lose some vinyl, it wouldn't be in the way of me ironing it down by mistake, pressing it down. Oh, I'm sorry that your screen keeps freezing. Is that your software screen or your video screen? Let me think what else I was going to show you. I think that's everything. I'm going to look at my pictures in here. So let's work with a Jeff. This is a Jeff file here, because you might want to cut a Jeff file, and very easily I can select this, except did it select that little part there too? And then I could give it an outline, because I could convert it to curves and then I'd have an outline. Right now, I don't think it has an outline. It has, because it's not a, it has to be converted to get those kind of things. But I could give it an outline just by coming up here, going to convert, auto border to the outside, running stitch, and OK. And now I have an outline. I'll pull it off so you can see, because you want to work with an outline when you're cutting. There we go. And because I have some things here, let's see what happens when I select it. I got to turn on my cut technique, and then I'm going to cut it. It removed those connectors for me, so I don't have those connectors. Now it will cut this, and I'll just go to the cutter window so you can see. There it is. So it would cut all of that in one color. I could select parts of that and make them different colors if I wanted to. Or I could use maybe just one part of that if I wanted. So you can really use your embroidery designs too. If you find one that you really like, you can do double duty for that. So Cindy, you're saying your software for AD won't let you connect where? To your cutter? Let's see. Okay. Yeah, we had a. Maybe I should mention that when I post it, that it's at a different time because we're on Eastern time now. We had daylight saving time. So Cindy, let me know. I'm not really sure what you're asking. Your software for AD won't let me connect to a cut. If you have your cutter. And depending on what, if you're on a Mac, it might be because you have to use on my Mac, I have to use a USB hub. And I noticed on my hub, that one or two of the USB ports work better with my cutter than others. It won't open. It says I'm not connected to the internet. This is just set for cut, not print and cut. We'll do print and cut on another one. That's a whole other one all by itself. So Cindy, post it to the Facebook page, and then I can help you with that part of it. And is your software key? Are you logged on with your software key? That's important too. All right, so I'm going to hold up here. I'm going to put the camera on and then see if there's any questions. And I think we'll be pretty well set from there. Here we go. All right, so hopefully this will help you get started in designing. So I didn't give you any homework. So between now and next week, go find a design that you think you want to cut. And play around with it a little bit so that next week when I go to cut, I'll try to do some examples of different things so that you can see how that works. And hopefully for me, when I see it being cut, it helps with the design process. That's why I wanted to show you first the products, because they work a little differently. Always look at your paperwork information that comes with your product. I think there are some iron-on or HTV vinyls that are actually slightly sticky before you iron them, so you can place them and they stay there, and then you could take your transfer tape off and go get the next piece. So I'm on the search for that, so I'm going to look for that. I'm pretty sure that's out there. I just have to go to the right place and find it. So it depends on what you're working on. So you're saying print and cut was highlighted. Oh, I think it's doing print and cut because I'm not connected to the cutter, and because it's going to go to the printer first, and then it's going to give me if I was connected. So just the print function's available. So yeah, so it's not print and cut, and we'll do a whole thing on that. So yeah, Paula, with the Cricut Maker, we do have a document in the files that has, I think it says the Maker meets AD. I think that's I think I titled it that, which will help you when bringing something from our software to the Maker. There's some size things happening, so you can do that part of it. There's a lot of different cutters out there. I do love our Edge. I think we get a wonderful cut. I've cut some you saw this design here, the fine, let me pull it back up, the fine cutting that it did with this. There's see those little pieces and how nicely that cut? So, and it cuts a variety of things, which I really like. I like that I can move that cutter head around so I can save my vinyl. And I'll do a little bit of that so you understand how that's working. Let me think. And I think you can do that with other cutters too. But we used a couple other cutters in the beginning, and then we had our own cutter. But I do like it. I just like the way the blades work and all of that part. So let's see. Okay. All right. So I think we're set. I'm going to say goodbye for today. Next week we have our Tuesday skill builder, and then we'll do our Thursday hands-on at the cutter. So watch for the announcement. Sorry the announcement was so late. I forgot. My Wednesday was a little crazy. I usually post it on Wednesday. So make sure you check in next week for the skill builder and the others. And if you're new to the page today, check out the guides. And at the top of the page, you'll see, I think it says discussion, guides, whatever. In the guides are all the previous skill builders and create-its and other videos that we've done. They're all organized in there so you can find them. And I do a little notes paper with each of the videos, almost all of them. There's one I didn't do one. I can't remember why, but whatever. So you can go ahead and check on that next if you're new to the page. All right, everybody, let me see what's here. We're good. All right, so go go design so that next week after you've designed, if you have questions, then I can help you with those too. All right, everyone, have a great weekend. Enjoy yourself. Hopefully there'll be good weather this weekend and we'll get out and about and get some fresh air. Have a great one. Thank you everyone for watching.